Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2023 Evening of Distinction. Please welcome to the stage your first presenter, Stacy Ackerman.
All right, good evening. I feel like from the old stadium, maybe we should have a cowbell up here. We'll get everybody seated. All right, we'll try it again. Well, good evening and welcome. I know we're all so excited to see friends. We're looking forward to spring, although it doesn't feel like spring outside. But it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Evening of Distinction. I'm Stacy Ackerman, an NDSU alumni, trustee, and currently the chair of the Executive Governing Board. And this event is truly one of my favorites at NDSU because we get to hear from so many of our distinguished alumni. It gives us the opportunity to celebrate the excellence of NDSU alumni and friends. Tonight, we are honored to highlight the work of alumni and benefactors whose philanthropy has enhanced the NDSU experience. The 2023 NDSU Foundation Award honorees include a leader in the field of natural resources management in North Dakota and Washington, D.C., the nation's leading farmer-owned cooperative and its philanthropic arm, a pathogen researcher on the front lines of biosafety for the past 20 years, a world-renowned researcher and potato pathologist, a married couple with philanthropic passions for NDSU agriculture, education, and of course, football. And last but certainly not least, a College of Engineering alumnus whose leadership helped grow NDSU's endowment to historic levels and will take credit for mentoring most of us on the investment committee. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank current North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum for being with us this evening. Please stand to be recognized. While we are here this evening to celebrate our honorees and to recognize and thank our generous donors, we're also here because NDSU means so much to each one of us. NDSU lives in our hearts. We all have a story and a connection to this special place. This audience knows that our NDSU values and roots set us up for success. NDSU has given us lasting connections and a sense of community, and I would add belonging. And we want to ensure that this special place is here for generations to launch. At a recent trustee retreat, we all shared our why behind our decision to become NDSU Foundation trustees and advocates for our alma mater. You likely will be able to see yourselves and your family in some of these stories. So I'm going to just capture a few of them. But a few of them included, my education was the ticket to the big dance. Now I'm not talking March Madness, we just got through that, but a ticket to a meaningful career, an ability to support our families and to invest in our communities. That is incredibly powerful, what our education has prepared us to do. In addition to that, many of us had a special mentor who saw potential in us. Some days we probably wanted to give up. Some days we didn't think perhaps going to that next rung and getting a master's degree, a credential, a PhD was possible. But there was that mentor there who told us that, yeah, you know what? I think you can do better. I see potential in you. And one of those individuals reminded me of this just last week. I heard from Patty Corwin, and she is retiring after 50 years, which is just incredible. And 57,000 students went through her door. Can you believe that? That's over half of our living alumni. It's just incredible. In addition to that, for many of us, because of the land-grant mission, NDSU made education attainable, accessible, and affordable for all of us. I often talk about NDSU and the values and the value that my family got from NDSU. Many of us are first generation receiving that education and being able to go to, for me, Fargo is a big town. Coming to the big town, going to college, having that education, and it's becoming increasingly difficult for a lot of students to make it affordable. NDSU, in terms of tuition, room, and board, is about $20,000. Now, we know that there's more costs to going to college, but that's still an incredible value. There are a number of private schools where you're seeing tuition now upwards of $80,000 to $85,000 a year. Tuition, room, and board, I should say. And we heard from a student today who's a civil engineer. She is also the city engineer for her hometown, and because of an engineering scholarship from one of our donors up here, she was able to graduate without any student debt. That sets her up for the career in the future that she deserves. That's pretty powerful. In addition, and don't worry, I'm not going to make you stand, this isn't participatory, but many of you found your significant other here as well. Might have been through Greek society, one of student government, might have been in the classroom, exactly. Now I do wonder though, in the future, this is before eHarmony and Match.com, so I'm not sure how that one's going to play out, if that one's going to last. But, so many of these stories came from our students, and they were shared by the trustees who are in the room tonight. And one of the things I want to share is we have these fabulous events, but you don't know, perhaps, that we have 75 trustees who have been in meetings for the last 2 days, and we continue tomorrow. Don't forget, 8 a.m. tomorrow, guys. But 12 committee meetings, and they're here doing the work because they're passionate about their alma mater and want to give back. So I know you're going to look at each other, you're going to be embarrassed, but I'm going to ask our trustees to stand up so they can be recognized, and I will wait for you to stand up. These trustees help us with our mission to forge connections, foster support, and facilitate outcomes on behalf of NDSU. So thank you for your work. Next, you might wonder, why do Todd and I stay involved? This was a picture last year at Bison Pride. My husband just asked, who's Todd Ackerman? He loves it when his name tag shows up as Todd Ackerman and not Todd Pringle. So maybe I should have introduced myself. I'm Stacy Ackerman Pringle. I help people connect to the dots. So anyway, thank you, Todd Ackerman. So I am a first generation graduate, first generation to go to college. And we're really proud that we have turned NDSU into a generational experience for us. Each of our children has or is attending NDSU. Currently, our daughter Elena will be graduating just in a couple weeks in civil engineering from NDSU. And she's had the opportunity to be involved with Engineers Without Borders, engineering ambassadors, and she's getting these hands-on learning opportunities that are preparing her for a successful career to meet societal needs. And because of scholarships, she didn't have to work during the year. Probably many of us in the audience, I will tell you, I coach gymnastics, judge gymnastics, I work at the Forum newspaper at 6 a.m. I gave plasma. I graduated debt-free, but it was a different experience that I wanted our children to have on campus. And because, again, of so many of you in this room, they're able to be involved, they're able to be engaged. One of the things that I'm really excited about is she's president of Engineers Without Borders, and that group is traveling to Guatemala in August. And they have put together a water distribution system for a village And currently, those villagers have to walk 3 miles each day for sanitary water. So they've done the design, they've done the fundraising. In fact, last night we worked the room a little bit at Proof to help them come across the finish line for that final $7,000. But think about the impact they're going to have being able to bring water down from the mountains into those homes. That's a global impact. That responsibility and that outcome is just tremendous. Elena's experiences drive home for me the idea that NDSU is about education, but again, it's about the connections and community, not just here, but on a global scale. One of the favorite things that Elena said, and she was part of a video, is NDSU is large enough to matter, but small enough to care. And I'm going to repeat that. NDSU is large enough to matter, but small enough to care. Now, I'm not sure if she plagiarized that from someone or who she did, but I know there'll be someone who's like, hey, I said that, so we will give you credit. Come see me afterwards. Anyway, so as we look ahead to the future and cast a vision for the university, we know philanthropy and leadership will play a vital role in our transformation and continued success. We're going through some challenging times right now. We're making some tough decisions, but I am really excited for the future. And we have leaders here tonight that we're going to hear from just a little bit later that are helping guide NDSU through this process and into the future with enthusiasm and great passion. So thank you to everyone in the room tonight, alumni, industry partners, trustees, and friends, for your generous contributions of your time, talents, and financial resources. You continue to elevate the student experience, and truly, in my mind, the best is yet to come. So now, here's what's going to happen tonight. Following dinner, we are going to hear from President Cook and Dr. Aileen Nordstrom, the President Jim Osmond, Chair of Entrepreneurship in the College of Business. We will recognize new benefactors to the President's Old Main Founders and 1862 Societies. Following the donor recognition, we will have an opportunity to hear from Governor Burgum. And then NDSU Foundation President and CEO John Glover and NDSU President Cook will present the Horizon, Partner in Excellence, Alumni Achievement, the Henry L. Bolley, and Distinguished Service Awards. And you'll hear a few words from each honoree. We did tell them 3 to 5 minutes. Someone kept saying, you mean 30 to 50? We said, nope, 3 to 5, 3 to 5. So please thank me as well tonight. We have SCI as our presenting sponsor. So they really help make tonight possible. So let's give SCI a round of applause. While dinner is being served, please take notice of the video screens where the 2022 donors are recognized for their support, and I will be back with you in a little bit. Enjoy your dinners.
Please welcome to the stage NDSU President Dave Cook.
All right, I hate to ruin all the great discussions over dinner here. My apologies, but I also want to say, hey, thank you all for being here. What a wonderful program so far. I'm so appreciative that Governor Burgum has joined us, so thank you again, and I know you're all going to hear from him shortly, but we really do appreciate you being here. And I understand there's another former governor, Governor Dalrymple. Jack and Betsy, are you guys somewhere over here? There we go. So you all may recall that when I first started, which was almost a year ago, a group of us ran around the state for 2 weeks, and one of the most fun places was to stop at your homestead there, and so you're so gracious, and it's just right out of a Norman Rockwell painting, by the way, so thank you very much. That was absolutely fantastic. So a wonderful dinner so far, thank you. Wonderful job by Stacy, and where are you guys at, Stacy, and where is Todd Ackerman? I don't know, he's missing for some reason, but maybe better that he's missing. Oh, he's in the back, but great job, Stacy. One of the great things I get to do, of course, is to work with the foundation, who's done an amazing job this evening, but with the executive governing board and with Stacy's leadership, it's really great for me to be a little bit around that. So thank you, Stacy. We really do appreciate it. And so I also want to say, I mentioned it a moment ago, that it is month 11, so I've almost been here for a year now. Thanks for putting up with me. I really appreciate it. So I've had a number of people say very nice things, and what I tell everybody who is willing to listen is that I'm really blessed with an amazing leadership team, a group of people around me. We have maybe a potential like 6 and 4 salary increase coming, and if I say too many great things about them, they're going to expect a 12 and 8 or something like that. But I've got great people around me helping me out every day, speaking kind of truth to me, which I really, really do need. And so it's been a great year. I'm really proud of what we've accomplished, and I just want you to know I truly couldn't do it without all of them. And many, but not all of them, are here tonight. So thank you to all of you, and I'll say that over and over and over again for as long as you'll keep me here. Equally important, or maybe a little bit more important, is that I didn't know being a president was a team sport, but my wife, Kate, honey, thank you for everything. So she does this to me. I did my State of the State address, and I made eye contact with her, and I almost started crying because she starts crying. So no more looking at you the rest of the speech. So I'm pretty darn lucky, and I'll leave it at that. And I think from both of us, we'd say thank you to the entire kind of bison community and the entire herd. You guys have really made us feel very welcome, and I'm very, very appreciative of that. So thank you so much. All of that aside, I think most importantly, congratulations to the 2023 awardees, and thank you to all of the benefactors who really help us make our dreams come true. So thank you to everybody there. Let's give them a round of applause. So as president, I, along with that team and the whole community here, we've outlined 5 priorities, and I don't want to bore you with it, but they're really important, so I want you to at least kind of continue to think a lot about them. So we got 5 of them, and number 1 is about enrollment, retention, and student success. That's what we're all about, making sure our students are successful. You, with all your philanthropy in so many ways, scholarships and all the rest, are truly changing our students' lives, so we're very appreciative of that. The second priority is around research. So the last time I checked, we are a Carnegie classified R1 institution. Where's Colleen? She's out there. She's going to whoop it out in the back. There are 4 Carnegie classified R1 research institutions in the upper Midwest, and I guess there's only 1 in the state of North Dakota, so go figure. The third priority is about well-being. We just need to invest in our student, staff, and faculty, and that's a real priority for us. So we're going to continue to do that, as well as our fourth priority, building a stronger culture for diversity, inclusion, and respect is absolutely critical. And then the fifth one, which I learned about crisscrossing the state last summer, what it means to be the 1862 land grant to North Dakota, what you all want NDSU to be, what you want leadership and the president to be about. And so I took that very seriously and made it a priority, and thanks to all of you, I think we're doing a pretty good job with all of those. So I bring all of those up because philanthropy, dedicated faculty, dedicated alumni, all of these different things come together to make NDSU very special. And if we can all get together and move in the right direction, move together around those 5, I think we're going to really be able to achieve some pretty special things here. And so it all starts, I think, with our students, of course, followed by having amazing faculty. And I have the great honor, I'm not sure where she is, but I have the great honor and pleasure to introduce one of these remarkable scholars that's really changing the world, changing lives, Annalie Nordstrom, our Jim Osmond Endowed Chair of Entrepreneurship. Give her that round of applause. I heard it from out there somewhere. I'm going to brag on her a little bit. I should probably brag on her a little bit longer, but Annalie's work around entrepreneurship aligns wonderfully with the future of NDSU, with those 5 priorities. The importance of business and industry partnerships. I've thought for a long time the future of higher education is around business industry partnerships, and somebody who's a specialist in entrepreneurship knows that. The importance of teaching the entrepreneurial mindset to our students is changing the way they think and the way they attack and the way they learn and the way they get prepared for the future, and I think that's important. And finally, I'd say the importance of embracing entrepreneurial thinking is equally important because it brings together all the different disciplines. Again, it's about working with business and industry, but I think it's about bringing all the disciplines together to tackle those big, hairy, crazy, nutty ideas, and we're lucky to have somebody like Annalie doing that for us. So with that, I just want you to know I'm grateful, honored, and proud to have Annalie as a faculty member at NDSU, and I am equally grateful, honored, and proud to have her as one of our NDSU's endowed chairs. It's a very big deal. Please join me in welcoming Annalie up to the stage. Thank you. Oh! I couldn't find it.
All right. Yes, I can see why he couldn't see me, because all I see is lights. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the warm introduction, President Cook. I actually passed President Cook earlier tonight on my way to the bar, and he said, "You behave, Annalie, or I'm going to change my introduction of you." So I've limited myself to 1 glass of wine. As President Cook said, I've been the Osmond Chair of Entrepreneurship in the College of Business at NDSU for a little over a year, but I've been in NDSU since 2017. I actually grew up in a farming community in British Columbia, Canada, and so I spent much of my childhood riding horses, raising sheep, and playing basketball, which you can kind of tell from my height that I fit that sport, right? After high school, I decided to venture 1 province over to the University of Alberta. As an undergraduate, I studied agriculture and earned an undergraduate degree specializing in soil science. I spent my early career working in agribusiness, which involved many hours scouting fields, calculating fertilizer blends, hopping in and out of combines, curling really badly, and getting really well fed by many amazing farm families. I worked in a local community that was strongly Ukrainian, and I ate a lot of pierogies. I decided to return to graduate school to earn an MBA, which actually kind of unexpectedly, but fortuitously, evolved into a PhD. I combined my interest in people, culture, entrepreneurship, and outliers for my dissertation. And I actually studied Hutterite colonies and their hugely successful but really non-traditional way of doing business. When I was finishing my PhD, NDSU was also exploring a non-traditional way of doing business. They were looking to expand programming at a state university by partnering with philanthropists to bolster the entrepreneurship program. This drew my attention and got me really excited, so I applied for the position. So really, it was philanthropy that made it possible for this Canadian girl to find a place in North Dakota. Philanthropy makes many new experiences possible. Fast forward 5 years, and in the NDSU Center for Entrepreneurship and Family Business, philanthropy is really helping us inspire the next generation, the next research idea, and the next connection to the community. We're inspiring the next generation through programs like Problems to Possibilities, a partnership with the University of Oxford. This challenges students to fully understand a social or environmental challenge and then propose an intervention or solution. Last year, an NDSU team was selected to travel to Oxford to compete globally. Their project, Water is Life, Water Access in the Navajo Nation, took second place in the global competition. Second place out of 800 submissions. They beat out Oxford, Vanderbilt, UNC, a lot of big name schools, and really helped put NDSU firmly on the map. I know in the Midwest you're not supposed to brag, but like I told you at the start, I'm Canadian, so. This was a life-changing experience for these students. 3 of them had never left the country before. 1 of them didn't even have a passport. This year, we have a new group of students from across a wide range of programs participating again in Problems to Possibilities. Heather actually was going to join me here tonight because her team actually just won and will be representing us again in the global competition this year. Unfortunately, she's in Grand Forks and she couldn't make it because the roads are kind of bad. But Heather and her team, with the help from United Way and local leaders, spent this semester studying the systems surrounding our current childcare challenge in North Dakota. It's opportunities like Problems to Possibilities that help our students think bigger, think critically, find their voice, and expand their networks. Philanthropy is also helping to inspire the next research idea by investing in faculty. Thanks to philanthropic support, we've appointed 3 research fellows and a postdoc. Together, we're the lead research team for the recent $14 million NSF I-Corp Hub that will provide immersive entrepreneurial training for scientists and engineers with the goal of moving their ideas towards commercialization. Our research fellows have gained international recognition for research that they've done on work exploring topics like corruption, women entrepreneurs, community entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurial ecosystems. Finally, philanthropy has helped us to inspire and drive connections to the community. For example, philanthropy has helped us to establish opportunities to get our students out of the classroom and engaged with Fargo business leaders and entrepreneurs. Kirk and Brittany Anton, who I can't see because these lights are blinding me, but Kirk and Brittany Anton, who are seated with me tonight, are a great example. Over the past few years, Kirk and Brittany have provided opportunities for our entrepreneurship students to learn about starting and running successful businesses. Anthony Molzan is another great example. He's a local entrepreneur that's providing opportunities for our students to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty in the world of startup activity. Our students and faculty are also collaborating with a lot of local organizations, the Women's Business Development Network, Folkways, United Way, Emerging Prairie, She Starts Week. So to sum it all up, philanthropy is really helping us to inspire the next generation, the next research idea, and the next connection to the community. Our students are having richer and more impactful experiences, our research is advancing, and we're building stronger connections in the community. This is possible because of philanthropy. So thank you for your investments and your support of NDSU.
I love how you captured the values of the Midwest, right? We can't brag, we have to keep our heads down. And I was thinking of something our son Hunter gave my husband for Christmas, and it was a plaque to put in his office. And it says, "Nobody cares, work harder." And so I think of the work ethic and being humble and the grit and all of these values that our communities and NDSU have fostered and really just cultivated in all of us. So that was truly, truly an extraordinary presentation. So thank you so much, Dr. Annalee, and thank you, President Cook, for those comments as well. Next up, we are going to work towards our donor recognition. So we'd like to recognize benefactors have moved up in a giving society level in 2022, and that is a calendar year. These benefactors made gifts or gift commitments through planned and estate planning giving during the year that increased their lifetime giving level of new recognition. They provided designated support to every corner of campus, be it for scholarships, building, faculty, or program support. For the foundation, that is our North Star. What do we get across the street to campus to make an impact? Members of the President's Society are recognized for having attained giving levels of $25,000 in philanthropic giving to NDSU in 2022. Their names are listed on the screen, and I'd like you to please join me in thanking the new members of the President's Society. Lots of great friends up there. Please be sure to thank them as well at the end of this evening. Next, the Old Main and Founders Societies recognize benefactors with current lifetime gifts from $250,000 up to $1 million. Please join me in showing gratitude to these new members of the Old Main and Founders Society that are listed on the screen. Next up is the 1862 Society. This acknowledges the year the U.S. Congress passed the Morrill Act, creating the land-grant university. So I don't know if any of you are playing trivia, but this might be one to put in your back pocket. 1862, U.S. Congress passed the Morrill Act. This society honors benefactors who provided documented gifts totaling $1 million or more. Legacy levels of cumulative support are recognized at the $1 million and $10 million levels this evening. Although not everyone was able to join us this evening, for those in attendance, please stand as your name is called and remain standing so that we can express your gratitude. And please do stand. Again, getting back to the Midwest, we're humble, we don't want eyes on us, but we really do want to express our gratitude. The audience, please hold your applause until the end. So new members of this society at the $1 million level. First, Matthew Chambers, Terrence and Donna Dahl. I know you are here. Verlin B. Hins. Look out and see. Jim Kirkide and Levon and Pat Kirkide. And last but certainly not least, Randy and Dottie Schmeling. Now, next up at the $10 million level, talk about a corporate partner of the university who has supported us in so many different ways. I am just thrilled this evening to recognize a table from Gate City Bank. So please stand so you can be recognized. Let's see. You know, so Jeff Volk said, you know, maybe we should have people stand who met their spouse while they were on campus. But, you know, one unique thing about the Gate City table is there's someone at that table who received her proposal on campus. So maybe just a little wave, Marianne. And remind us which hall that was in? Yes. So this is before promposals and really elaborate, so he brought you to the dorm. So we were much, I think, more frugal back then. Steve, of course, is busy at the legislature, so unable to be with us this evening, but we certainly do appreciate all of the hard work of our legislatures in Bismarck as we're working towards closing out this session. So next up, after thanking all of our NDSU benefactors and showing our support and the investments and access to the opportunities that they've created for generations to come, it is now my pleasure to welcome North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Let's give it up for Stacy, doing a great job tonight. Thank you. Wow, what an honor to be here, and how fun to be here with this NDSU family. And it's an honor to be here because all of you matter. You matter because of your support for this important institution and everything you do in the community, and it's fun to be here. It's also an honor to be here and fun to be here because NDSU, we always say, feels like family. But for some of it actually is when we get back together tonight. So it's a great, I have my sister Barbara here. I've got my sister-in-law Julie Burgum is here. I got cousins like Julie Williams that are here, who's critiquing my speech, by the way, she told me. And then we've got, Keith and Kathy Peltier. Norma Peltier is here. Those are the ones I've seen. There are probably others, but I just want to say, I'm sure like all of you, it feels like family because sometimes it often is. And Stacy was talking about Todd, and we have one of our sons grew up with one of their sons, Hunter. So the generational thing has happened for a lot of people in our family with my nephews. It's four generations of Burgums attending NDSU, and I think that some of you have probably heard the story that, of course, my sister and I, our grandmother, Jessamine, at the time, Jessamine Slaughter was in the first class. There were 6 kids in the first class at NDSU back in 1890, 5 guys and 1 girl. They were there. Some 70 years later, when they were building a girls' dorm on campus, they said, wow, we should maybe have some building on our campus named after a female versus all males. Just an interesting thought. And they looked back in history and said, well, who was the first female enrollee? We say enrollee because we're not sure if she graduated, but she was the first one that was there. So they said, hey, we should name it after her. And of course, at that time, it was just before it went from the North Dakota Agricultural College, NDAC, to NDSU. And then some folks maybe prudently decided that calling a girls' dorm the Slaughter Hall was not a really good idea, and that's where Burgum Hall, the girls' dorm, came from. She hadn't even met our grandfather at that time. But true story. But anyway, NDSU, it absolutely plays a critical role in our state and a critical role in our nation. I think the one thing is we're preparing students graduating from this institution today. The thing that is probably a little sad for some of us is to see that we're really at a spot where in the world where we're maybe entering back into a Cold War type situation that all of us grew up with that we thought maybe were beyond us. But we literally are at a point where superpowers may be clashing with each other again. And if that starts to happen, then we know that the role that a state like North Dakota that literally feeds and fuels the world is going to play a more and more important role in the way that we do things here and the way we solve problems here. As we're saying, problems to possibilities really, really makes a difference. And whether it's research, whether it's teaching, or whether it's extension, NDSU touches every county in our state. And I also want to say, too, that why all of you matter here in supporting this institution, because right now higher education in the whole country is facing a set of challenges that it has never faced before. And right off the bat, of course, is the technological changes that are happening, and not just the acceleration of change that was driven by COVID and remote learning, which moved education and higher education out of a traditional on-campus 4-year, 18 to 22-year-old to more lifetime and distributed education. but the technological changes that are happening right now with AI. I mean, the AI, which maybe some of you read about or heard about or know about, but some of the products that have been introduced in the last 3 months have a higher adoption rate than any new technological advance that's been introduced in any of our lifetimes, whether that's the personal computer, whether that's the internet, whether that's the cell phone. That right now it's happening, and if institutions aren't responding to that, because that AI is going to change every job, it's going to change every industry, it's going to change how we do government, and we have to have institutions that are embracing it and making sure that students are ready. The demographic shift that we're in right now is a challenge for all of higher ed. It's not just that there's a demographic cliff coming in 2026 with fewer high school graduates. In most states, North Dakota, we're younger and growing faster with a higher birth rate than we ever have before. I mean, we're second in the nation right now in birth rate. We're behind Utah. They're hard to catch. But we're doing your best. Get your kids and grandkids out there. Look out, Utah. Here we come. Anyway, we are. Well, I guess we'll have fun trying to catch them, maybe, or somebody will. But I just want to say again, this demographic cliff in our country is we're going to have to find non-traditional students outside that normal traditional way we think of on-campus 18 to 22-year-olds if we're going to be competing for students. And then there's a cultural shift which going on, which there was a solid belief for 50 or 60 years after World War II that if you got a college degree, then you were going to have a different life. And of course, today, it's still the same. If you've got a higher set of skills, you're going to have higher earning. But there are so many other ways to get those skills through certificate programs and other approaches. And some of those alternative approaches require less college debt, and they're more economically affordable. So technological, demographic, cultural, and economic shifts are like the four horsemen that are putting pressures, and that's why leadership matters more than ever. And I just want to say that there's a saying that famous gold medal sailor Buddy Melgus had, which was that you never have to recover from a good start. And I just want to say, as I've observed President Cook and his wife, Dr. Kate, across the state and get out around the state for the first 2 months, they do not have to recover from a good start. They've had a fantastic start as new leadership for this institution. So thank you so much for that. And it's also fun for me tonight as part of this family of connection to just say a few words before the awards tonight about the award winners and just this whole program. It really is an evening of distinction. The work that these NDSU alums have done have been transformative, not just for NDSU or the region, but they've really touched on the world, and the scope of their impact is remarkable, and you're going to hear more about them. But for me, I want to just start right out and give a shout out. I haven't seen them for perhaps decades, but the Iwen family, which is occupying the table right here, my sister Barb and I and brother Brad, we grew up with the Iwens. We were a block and a half apart from each other. Anybody that grew up in the town of Arthur, their father, Bert Iwen, was the only pharmacist in town, ran the Arthur Drug. But it wasn't just a drugstore. I realize now when I look back, not nostalgically, but it was basically the child care center for the entire city, because if we didn't have anything to do, you would go down there. Bert would I think I learned to read there because he would let you read the comics. And then 10 cents for a cold, wet, sweating, beautiful glass bottle of pop coming out of the water that you'd pull out of the cooler. And on a hot summer day, there was nothing better than hanging out with your friends at the drug, and he was always one to support the kids that were there. And in addition to Pete, but his siblings, John and Mary and Rachel and Abe, who I think virtually all of them are here tonight. All of them are there. So anyway, they got the whole gang, but it was great. And then their mother was incredible in Arthur. Think about this. Is there anybody in your town that played organ in their church for 76 years or longer? I don't see any hands going up. I think Joanne holds the record, but the way you do it for the math majors from NDSU, you start when you're 12, you keep doing it till you're 88. That's how you get 76 years of serving that community with great music. But anyway, and of course, Pete went on to great things, having a father that was obviously involved in that health field. We know from being governor, I know that the Nebraska lab is one of the best and most famous in the country. And I knew this even before COVID. I mean, if there's an Ebola case, it doesn't go to the coast, it goes to Nebraska. They've got some of the top isolation labs. They do incredible work. And Dr. Iwen, I guess you're now called, I still think of him as Pete, my fellow mile relay track mate. Okay, all right, I'm Doug. He's Doug to me, perfect. I like it when people call me Doug or Benny, my high school nickname, because then I know they're a friend. If they call me governor, they usually want something from me. So it's refreshing to be back on that. But anyway, I know this is one of the things. He works in a very dangerous environment, and when he does, because he's got all these deadly pathogens around him, you've got to be, vaccinated against everything, and to make sure. And I'm feeling that. But his start in Arthur and with his dad was probably a real shot in the arm for Pete. So, okay. Did I say there weren't going to be any dad jokes? Because I'm not sure why everybody's groaning out there, because there's probably more coming. Anyway, David and Aileen Clough are here. They're going to be, they've been great ambassadors. They're getting recognized tonight. They've got their incredible passions, not just ag and education and football. His work on the Wheat Commission, you'll hear more about that. And of course, the interesting factoid about these folks is at their farm, they have a Lego version of, wait for it, the Fargo Dome and the Bison football team. A Lego version that's there as part of, and they host watch parties, one for away games, etc. But I understand that their Lego Bison team is one of the best blocking teams in the country. I'm getting feedback on the thing. I'm not sure, is there... Spencer Duin had a 40-year career in the electrical industry, chaired NDSU's investment committee for a number of years, but he also served in many other ways. Served in the U.S. Army, spent 18 months in Turkey prior to the Vietnam. But he and his family have had a great history of supporting foster children, providing opportunities that they wouldn't have. And if I could ask that not only Spencer, but anybody else who served in the military or is active military, could you just stand up and let's just say thanks to you for all the work you've done. Let's give it up for Spencer and all the military folks. Any veterans here? Go ahead and stand. And then, of course, Neil Gudmestad from Litchfield, Go Lobos. That's their team name, in case people aren't familiar with Litchfield. Well, okay, you've merged 6 times like we did? Okay. Did I say I was a knight and then a hornet and then a brave and then an eagle before I became a jaguar? No, I didn't. I just... President Cook, I'm getting heckled from the audience. It's supposed to be a recognition banquet, okay? But whatever happens here is more fun than what goes on in Bismarck, so I'll just keep coming back. I'll be here all week, okay? Neil Gudmestad, what I mentioned, is from Litchfield, who used to be the Lobos. World-renowned potato pathology for 42 years. Did the management over 22 potato diseases. I just have one question for all of you. What do you call a potato that likes to post videos on the internet? A YouTuber. Okay. There were budget cuts in our office too, and I have to write all my own jokes now. Not just higher ed gets cut. So it's like, anyway, you're going to hear from them tonight. I said hi to the folks that are here. I know there's a whole table, but CHS Foundation, Senex Harvest States, their origin groups, they've been part of agriculture in North Dakota forever, doing a great job. We want to thank you for all your continued support that you're giving here tonight. And I don't have any jokes about propane, so we're just going to move on to our next. They deliver most of the propane to our state. That was that reference, Xenex, Harvest States? Okay, all right. I thought this was an ag school, but it's okay. People use propane to dry grain in the fall. It's a There's actually a link there. Anyway, it's my pleasure also to be here tonight to watch the recognition go to Andrea Travnicek, or Trav, or as her soccer teammates called her Park, or for short for Park Ranger, but first ever director of the North Dakota Department of Water Resources. This is a big deal in North Dakota, and she's doing a fantastic job. We had a chance earlier tonight to recognize Jack and Betsy Dalrymple, who've been so incredible to Catherine and I. I know how hard this job is, and I now know how easy Jack made it look to do the job. I mean, he just made it look so easy. It shows you how talented and how amazing Jack and Betsy were. But in 2011, when our state was facing an incredible, just an incredible, unprecedented crisis, and the city of Minot was underwater, Andrea and Governor Dalrymple were up in the Blackhawk, I think, about every day for 30 days straight, working to save that town when she was working as water policy for Governor Dalrymple. After she left there, she went to D.C. She worked in the highest areas of the Department of Interior, right reporting to the Secretary of Interior, which she is overseeing as many as 17,000 team members and budgets in the billions. And we were so fortunate to recruit her back to North Dakota, where she's had a chance to run Parks and Rec as part of our administration, and now having been appointed to the Department of Water Resources as the first ever director of that group. And they invest hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars every year in important projects across the state, whether it's the Fargood Immersion, Red River Water Supply, to name a few here. These are big pieces of infrastructure that are going to transform our state going forward. So we're so fortunate to have her back. And of course, we know that Trav bleeds green and yellow as a former 4-year letter woman on the NDSU soccer team, huge supporter of athletics. But anyway, all of these folks are amazing. Let's give it up for all the award winners you're going to hear from tonight. And in closing, I just want to say that we distilled down to what we try to do in state government every day for the citizens of North Dakota down to 6 words, and that's empower people, improve lives, and inspire success. And when I think about NDSU and the programs here, they're doing exactly those things: empowering people, improving lives, and inspiring success. Our award winners tonight are certainly going to continue to inspire success. So as we look to the future, I want to, again, I started by talking about how important all of you are. We have to challenge ourselves to imagine what's possible when we work together to unlock North Dakota's unlimited potential. The answer to our future is not more regulation, it's innovation. Innovation, not regulation, is the thing that's going to solve the world's problems. When Pete and I and Barbara were all in high school in Arthur, there were 2 things we were told. This country's going to run out of energy and it's going to run out of food. Has that happened? No. We are now producing more food than ever before. We're producing more energy than ever before. And at the heart of that is the state of North Dakota. And so with your continued support of NDSU, we can truly have the best education system in the world, the best agriculture in the world, the best autonomous farming in the world, with innovations like going on with the collaboration between NDSU and Grand Farm. And we can achieve the vision that we have of North Dakota, which is we're on the way to having the highest GDP per capita of any state in the nation. And we can make North Dakota and our nation even a better place to live, work, and raise a family. So again, I want to say congratulations to all the award winners. Have a fantastic evening. Thanks for including me. Great to be with the NDSU family, and congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Brother Doug, thank you very much for being with us. Phi Alpha, my SAE brother, and if I'm to call you Governor Burgum tonight, it's because I need you to help us out on the challenge grant, because all of our benefactors here tonight really want a big number for the challenge grant out of the North Dakota legislature, so help us out. But again, please join me in welcoming and thanking Governor Burgum for being with us tonight. I'm John Glover, and President and CEO of the North Dakota State University Foundation. I'm in my 8th year. Believe it or not, it feels still like it's my first, and it is truly an honor to be with all of you tonight and recognize our 2023 class of award recipients. NDSU alumni and friends are making a difference globally and locally in pursuit of what they are most passionate about. And tonight, we are honored to recognize these individuals and share some of their stories. We will begin with the Horizon Award, which recognizes alumni who have graduated within the past 15 years and have attained great success in their profession or have been engaged in outstanding community service. The 2023 Horizon awardee is Andrea Travnicek. Andrea is the current and first director of the North Dakota Department of Water Resources. Prior to this role, Andrea held numerous positions at a state and national level. During her time with the U.S. Department of the Interior, Andrea oversaw natural resource agencies such as the Bureau of Reclamation, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the National Park Service. Andrea's love for the natural resources began in Minnesota. Even though her family moved frequently while she was growing up due to her dad's role as a B-52 pilot, Lakes Country anchored her, and when it came time to choose a college, NDSU felt like home. Andrea earned 3 degrees in natural resources from NDSU, a BS, an MS, and a PhD. During her time, Andrea sought out numerous research opportunities within the department while also competing on the field for women's soccer. She said, and I quote, "NDSU definitely set the stage for the unique career I have been able to have so far. The possibilities have been endless, and there is more to do." Please welcome to the stage Dr. Andrea Travnicek, the 2023 Horizon Award recipient.
Woo, all right. I'm the first one out of the gate here, so bear with me. And of course, when you've got 2 bosses here, pressure is on. But first of all, I want to thank the foundation, and congratulations to the other award winners. I know I've been able to meet some of you while being a member of the foundation, and it really, truly is an honor to be recognized with you guys tonight. Also, just was very surprised to get this award, the Horizon Award. I know there's others in the audience that are also very well deserving. But it's exciting to be here tonight. Like Governor Burgum said, it's a great break from Bismarck, so thank you very much. The legislative session right now, it's nice to be over here for a couple days and taking a break from the water wars. But you heard a little bit about my history already. As a military brat, trying to decide where I wanted to go to college, I knew I wanted to select a university that was close to where I considered home, and you heard that already. But with constant changes, I was drawn towards consistency, and those places were Minnesota, my North Dakota roots, my passion for the outdoors, a love for playing soccer, and of course, family, and I was able to find that here at NDSU. So coming from Papillion, Nebraska, at the time of my initial NDSU campus visit, led to meetings with Dr. Jay Leach, who is here tonight, Carolyn Greigel, and Women's Athletic Director Lynn Dorn. That visit also led to a chance meeting with Andy Knoll, a star track athlete from Stephen, Minnesota, and her parents. And as small world would have it, my dad would end up knowing Andy's mom and also knowing Lynn Dorn. So a feeling of home at NDSU was installed immediately. As luck would have it though, my freshman year, I would tear my ACL almost halfway through the soccer season. This led to a time where I was adjusting to recovery from an injury, but also putting more effort into building relationships across campus and focusing on career options in the natural resources field. And yeah, Governor Burgum got one of their nicknames right, Park Ranger. So I know Lynn Dorn was supposed to be here tonight, and she's still when she says it, that's still my favorite. So I know she had a family issue, but it's a great nickname, and it's also one where I was able to oversee the state parks, the national parks, so it kind of set the stage for the future a little bit also. Throughout my undergraduate and graduate degrees at NDSU, I was fortunate to learn from some of the best experts and have a support system that remains strong today. I want to be sure to recognize some of them that couldn't be here tonight, but first off, Dr. Jimmy Richardson shared with me his love for soils, and he was also the biggest cheerleader. He came to all my home soccer games, even after my injury. Also the Plant Sciences Department, where I worked as a student researcher, but also had the opportunity to have my research at Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and again, having the opportunity to oversee the national parks, and then also the great work that's happening with the Presidential Library, so it's fun to have that in the back pocket as well. Also want to thank Dr. Carolyn Greigel. She was the one that listened to me when I came back from an internship in Washington, D.C., and she helped me develop a new area in the NRM program, Environmental Communication. So I was actually the first PhD student in that program. And then finally to Dr. Jay Leach. He was the one that I met right away in my freshman year, and he stuck with me all the way through my PhD. So to Jay and Becky that are here tonight, thank you so much. It means the world to me. Your advice has always been so great, so I really do appreciate it. The programs at NDSU have led me down a path where I found myself almost at somewhat of a utility player in the natural resources. So being able to work on game and fish issues, fish and wildlife, water management, state parks, national parks, oil and gas. So it really has been great. It's led to a career where I've been able to have adventures across the world while helping the public and industries that are impacted by natural resource management policies and decisions. So however, I know I would not be able to do any of this without strong leaders and amazing teams and coworkers. And that's where, of course, I've got to recognize the bosses tonight. So Governor Dalrymple, thank you for entrusting me to advise you on all things natural resources for 6 years. And thank you to you and Betsy for your continued friendship and support. And to Governor Burgum, thank you for bringing me back to North Dakota. It's been great to be back here closer to family. And for giving me the opportunity to lead and manage 2 of your cabinet level agencies. It truly is an honor to be part of your administration and to serve the citizens of North Dakota. Besides the academic and athletic opportunities, the extracurricular activities that NDSU offered broadened my perspective on being involved and being part of a community. Involvement in the Student Athlete Advisory Council, the Natural Resource Management Club, Little Eye, and Blue Key all led to new skill sets, but most importantly, those activities led to lifelong friendships. Long story short, I soaked up the opportunities at NDSU, had a blast while being involved, and building connections. Even today, I enjoy promoting NDSU, being a part of the foundation board, just got on the team makers board, so when Governor Burgum said, bleed the green and gold, you can count on it for sure. It's also a goal to make sure that everybody knows the right way to say bison, because of course, working at the Department of the Interior, they're all like, bison? And it was pretty funny being able to get invited to see the football team when they came up to the White House. There was a story where Sarah Huckabee Sanders was trying to talk to some of the staffers with President Trump, and they're like, this football team, the Bisons, they're coming up next to meet with the president. And I had to interrupt and say, it's bison with a Z, bison. So actually when President Trump came out, he then said, we're excited to have the bison here tonight, bison with a Z. So just was in the right place at the right time, thankfully. So just keeping all that advisement going. So just to wrap up here a little bit, we'd be remiss without recognizing a lot of the folks that came to celebrate tonight. So I've got lifelong friendships that are here. So the Bison family that we talk about, that feeling of home. I've got Jen Swenson here. We shared a wall freshman year, so thank you, Jen, for being here tonight. Also the track girls, Darcy, Jill, and Kristen. I know we're missing Andy tonight. Renee Hawkins from soccer, she was supposed to be here. We've got Casey, Sadie, Dan, and Carol, and Nancy, and Shane. And I know we've got Beth and Jared, representing basketball, football, so I've got some of the other sports here as well. And then, of course, we've got Steph Kelly, and of course, I've got Megan Meardall here also. So great crew. Thank you so much for being here. And Christina, got Christina Hargis as well. So she's my partner in crime during my undergrad, master's, and PhD. And she just got a new role, so congratulations to you, and thank you for all that you do for NDSU. Finally, down to the family. I know it's the 3 to 5 minutes, I'm already over it, so I apologize. 3 to 5 minutes. So tonight, I've got my parents here, Pat and Jean. Over the years, they have set examples of servant leadership, active community involvement, integrity, commitment, and respect for the outdoors and conservation. Through the injuries, the career changes, the politics, believe it or not, lots of it, and life's ups and downs, they remain steadfast and my constant rock, and for that, I thank you. 2 weeks ago, we celebrated their 45-year wedding anniversary, so perfect. And then finally, to my +1 tonight, my sister. She brought her 2 boys, Ethan and Logan, they're also here. A month from now, we'll be celebrating her as she walks through her graduation at Minot State University. Heather, we are also proud of you. You continue to inspire me, and your hard work and dedication have not gone unnoticed. I'm excited to see what your next steps will be, so congratulations to you. As I wrap up, NDSU continues to be a feeling of home for me. It's always so great to be back on campus and at events surrounded by others that have the same passion that I do for the university. I hope moving forward in my career, I can continue to make a difference and step up where needed, all while bleeding the green and gold. Thank you again to John Glover and Dr. Cook for your leadership, your continued support, and a great event tonight. It really is great to be back here and a part of it, and great to be gone from the legislature just for a little bit, but also nice to have a front row watching what's happening with that water. We're watching it closely. If you see me leaving, that's when you gotta go too. So, thank you.
Congratulations once again, Park Ranger and Trav. How about that? The next award is the Partner in Excellence Award, which recognizes a corporation, foundation, or organization that has provided significant support as well as demonstrated inspirational philanthropic giving to the university. The 2023 Partner in Excellence awardee is CHS and the CHS Foundation. Through its partnership with NDSU, CHS and the CHS Foundation are committed to advancing cooperative education and agricultural leadership. For more than 60 years, CHS and the CH Foundation have made strategic investments in NDSU agriculture, providing support to students, faculty, programs, and facilities. In 2016, the CHS Foundation invested in faculty excellence and established the endowed CHS Chair in Risk Management and Trading, which is currently held by University Distinguished Professor William Wilson. The CHS Foundation has also invested in NDSU's Quinton and Burdick Center for Cooperatives, which provides education, research, and outreach that will strengthen cooperatives and expand employment and economic opportunities in North Dakota and the region. Please join me in welcoming Rick Dusick, Executive Vice President of CHS Incorporated, and David Kaiser, CHS Foundation Board Chair, recipients of the 2023 Partner in Excellence Award.
All right, thank you, John, and good evening, everybody. You know, I got to say, as a North Dakota native, I grew up in Grafton, about 2 hours north of here. Kudos to Governor Burgum. He knows we're the spoilers. Got to like that. And an NDSU alum and a 34-year employee of CHS. I'm just really honored and humbled to receive this award. And, you know, I think about the CHS Foundation. Really, the foundation of what the foundation stands for is investing in agricultural leadership and cooperative development. And it's really not surprising to me that we've forged this strong relationship with NDSU because NDSU goals are aligned with CHS and the CHS Foundation. Getting young people ready to go out in the agricultural industry with critical skills and experiences that are needed in this ever-changing agriculture industry. And I think about, the partnership between NDSU and the CHS Foundation spans 60 years. I mean, it's been that long. And John, very eloquently said, it's through scholarships, faculty programs, events, facilities. I was just in the CHS classroom today, and it just makes you feel good that we've got that kind of partnership and we can get in front of students and talk about what's so important in the industry. And I think about, as a company, we have a relationship with a lot of universities, obviously, because we're all across the country and we're global. but there's something about the relationship with NDSU that's different. It really is, and it's not just because I'm an alum, but I think about, and this started, almost probably about 2 decades ago, is Bill Wilson, who's been, we've been good friends ever since I graduated from here almost 35 years ago. One day called me and several of my counterparts who were also NDSU alum, and we were all in fairly high positions in the commodity trading world. NDSU people were, these are multinational companies, including CHS, that were, key leaders in the grain trade in North America and globally. And he said, I need you to help me. I need you to help us figure out how we can better train students, because it felt like there was a gap. We felt it, NDSU felt it, Bill felt it, and we responded. And it was CHS and our, many of our other companies, and it wasn't about competition, it was about how do we train people, particularly at that time was commodity risk managers and traders. How do we train people better? NDSU engaged, they listened, they acted, and as a result of that, companies like CHS invested money, and many of our counterpart companies invested money again as well. And that led to things like the commodity trading room, which is, and there's national recognition in that. That is a big deal, and it's really done wonders for the NDSU brand. And also the CHS chair in risk management and trading. We're really proud of that. And we're really proud to have Bill in that chair. And that's what can happen when you have the university system and companies engaging together to set those goals of how do we get people ready. And I can tell you this, as CHS, our biggest challenge going forward is having enough people with the skill sets and the experiences and kind of the wherewithal to help us navigate through this ever-changing world in agriculture, and I just got to say we're really proud of that. And I also want to just give a shout out to the Quentin Burdick Center for Cooperatives and Frayne Olson. I'm not sure if Frayne's here today. I saw him this afternoon. But the collaboration around developing leaders and directors of the cooperative system with Frayne and his team has just really been something special. CHS is governed by 17 farmers. That's our board of directors. And the support that center has given to our company and to local cooperatives all across North Dakota and all across the nation has just been outstanding. And they really help us when we need to get through some complexities that occur. So we just, when it comes to the cooperative industry, it's strong, it's thriving, and what is really the key is strong local leadership. And the Quentin Burdick Center for Cooperatives really helps us develop that. And we're just really fortunate to have that relationship and really proud that we've got that partnership. And I just want to congratulate a lot of people from NDSU that have been our partners through all this development and investment and progress, because it truly is a team effort amongst us all. So with that, I'm gonna close again. Just we're honored, we're humbled that we achieved this award. I think there's a lot of good things to come. We had a great discussion. I got to meet the new president this afternoon and really talked about some things we can continue to do together, and we're really excited about that. So thank you, and have a good evening.
The Alumni Achievement Award recognizes alumni who have attained outstanding professional accomplishments. The 2023 Alumni Achievement Award is presented to Peter Iwen. Peter has been on the front line of research and diagnostic testing for some of the world's most dangerous pathogens of the past 20 years. He is the Senior Biosafety Officer for the University of Nebraska Medical Center, a professor of microbiology in the College of Medicine, and the director of the Nebraska Public Health Laboratory. Peter oversees the high-level containment laboratories on campus and participates in research on biological agents that pose a severe threat to public health and safety, such as the pathogens that cause anthrax, Ebola virus, and COVID-19. Peter was also among the earliest group of people to become certified by the U.S. Department of Justice to work with anthrax spores following concerns of contamination at post offices in Washington, D.C., following the events of 9/11. In 2014, Peter's laboratory staff became the first and only state public health laboratory in the United States to handle specimens that contained viable Ebola virus. He said, and I quote, "We became recognized as experts to handle emerging special pathogens in a clinical setting, and our work with the CDC continues today." In late February 2020, Peter's laboratory also became involved in COVID-19 diagnostics to support the testing of high-risk passengers who were exposed to COVID-19 on the Diamond Princess cruise ship. In early March 2020, Peter's team at the Nebraska Public Health Laboratory developed a highly accurate method for high-number testing of specimens for COVID-19, which became a standardized method approved by the FDA. Admittedly, President Cook, I feel like we probably should be wearing hazmat suits up here as we welcome and congratulate Dr. Peter Iwen as the 2023 Alumni Achievement Awardee.
John, for your kind words, and I would like to also say thank you to Governor Burgum for his kind words about my family and growing up in Arthur, North Dakota. We had a great time. It's a thrill for me to be back to North Dakota State University. I'm counting years, and I'm going, it's been 50 years since I started in 1972 as a student here in Fargo at NDSU, and it was really refreshing today to be able to talk to some of the students. Everything that's been done over the last few years has been Zoom. I got to actually meet students and talk to them, and it was just a really great thing. Some of the deans, some of the chairs of the departments, it was really very nice, to have that opportunity to do this. I would like to thank Michael King of the Director of Developmental, who set up programs today, the last 2 days, for me to meet the students and faculty at NDSU, and it was a great honor for me to be able to do that. So thank you, Michael. Receiving this honor really is a humbling experience for me, and recognizing my accomplishments really is a recognition of a lot of what other people did with me. I'm successful because of other people, believe it or not. I mean, it's not me, okay? I want to make sure and put that out there. My comfort zone is really working in a high-level containment facility with such pathogens as Ebola virus. It's not standing up here and being publicly recognized with an accolade, believe me, all right? But I do have a lot of people I'd like to thank. First off, I'd like to thank my parents, Bert and Joanne Iwen. Both of them, I'm sure, are here in spirit with us tonight, so that feels comforting to me. I would like to thank my wife, Bev. Bev is here tonight, and she actually is my half, and I want to share this award with her, because without her help, I wouldn't be here this evening. And yes. And as Stacy said, meeting your spouse at NDSU, Bev and I met 47 years ago. I don't count dates anymore, but we will have our 46th wedding anniversary this fall, so just to kind of let you know how long ago it was. I'd like to thank my children. I have 4 children, Becky, Ben, Andrew, and Joseph. One of them is here to represent the children, Ben, who is also an NDSU graduate. So he flew in from Fort Collins to be here with us today, so I'm really happy he's here. He, you know, like I say, he's representing the family tonight, so thank you, Ben, for coming and joining us here. I'd like to thank my siblings. I have 5 other siblings and their spouses and significant others. They were all going to be here this evening. Well, guess what? There's a weather issue out there. I had my brother and his significant other to come up from Minneapolis and couldn't get here. I had another brother that lives in Detroit Lakes and couldn't get here. So anyway, 3 of them are here, and I'd like to recognize them as well. And I have a lot of, yes, thank you. I have a lot of other family and friends that are here this evening, and I would also like to recognize that I did graduate from Dakota High School. We were the Warriors, Governor Burgum, and I have some people that I actually graduated that are here this evening with. I graduated from a small class of 33 students, so you can imagine that we were not a big class, and we're still very, very close. And I enrolled at NDSU. First off, I grew up in Arthur, and there was no debate of where I was going to go to college. My grandfather, father, all my siblings attended NDSU. My wife, some of her brothers and sisters, my son, guess what? I ended up at NDSU. There was no choice there, and really, I'm really glad that I did. I enrolled in a program in horticulture my freshman year. And when I got to my sophomore year, I had to take a course in plant pathology. Absolutely hated it. It was not my calling. So I filled it in with another course in microbiology that was taught by a professor, Dr. Mary Bromell. Some of you may remember that name. And yeah, she started a spark. And then the next quarter, we were on the quarter system back then, I took a course in bacteriology taught by Dr. Burdell Funk. And that name may ring bells to people because, you know, I think he taught here maybe over 50 years, didn't he? A long time, and he just passed away recently, from what I understand it. Anyway, they started the spark in me. When I graduated, my undergraduate supervisor was Dr. Ken McMahon, who happened to be the chair of bacteriology. And back in those days, you just didn't find jobs unless you had experience. Catch-22, right? I didn't have experience. Fortunately, Dr. McMahon had a colleague in Omaha who was looking for a research scientist, and he said, hey, I got somebody I think that would work for you. And he suggested me. I got the job. My wife and I moved to Omaha in October of 1978, and the rest is history. I have not left the University of Nebraska Medical Center. But on top of that, one of the programs at the Medical Center is that you can take graduate work while working full-time. I had no intentions to go to graduate school whatsoever. I just wanted to make money. You know how it is when you're a young person. But I did sign up for courses because my supervisor said, you know, I think you should take some graduate courses. Well, after 3 years, I got a master's degree. Hey, that was not hard. I mean, I worked full-time, got a degree. And then he said, well, I think you can teach. I'd like you to teach the student laboratories for medical students and PA students and pharmacy students. You can do this. I think you can do this. So I got that job next. Well, then the public health laboratory was moved from Lincoln, Nebraska to the university campus in 1997. And my director, he became director, my supervisor became director of this laboratory. He came to me and says, I need you to help transition this laboratory to the university system. And I also want you to run the high-level containment facility. Again, an opportunity that I had. And I took the opportunity, but then the chair of the department came to me, you know what? You really need to get an academic appointment. And if you want to get an academic appointment, you need to have a terminal degree. Okay, guess what? Well, I thought, here I am, 40-some years of age, a non-traditional student, by the way, and I did decide to go on and take classes and do a thesis on my PhD for a PhD program. And I graduated in 2001 with a PhD. Older student, but it all worked out. It was just a great opportunity for me because the university had programs that allowed me to do these things while still supporting my family. At that time, if you remember 2001, what happened in September of 2001? 9/11. I graduated 2 weeks after 9/11, and the director, the chair, came to me and says, well, we need a biosafety officer for campus. We want you to do that. But we also need you to run the high-level containment facilities, and also we've got a problem with the public health lab in collecting samples for anthrax. You remember the Amerithrax exposure issue? Oh, by the way, the U.S. Post Office Service in Washington, D.C. is having problems with their sampling. We need somebody from Nebraska to go to Washington, D.C. and help coordinate testing of the post offices in Washington, D.C. Well, guess what? Here we are. We see an opportunity, and we were able to take it. Well, this is how my life has gone. Amerithrax, West Nile virus. We have the largest outbreak of West Nile virus in the Midwest, in case you people don't know that. North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska have the highest incident of West Nile virus infections in the U.S. today. But back then, we were the epicenter in Nebraska, so I had to run that program. Pandemic flu came out in 2009, which is another big issue for us. Ebola, you've heard Ebola in 2014. Well, why Ebola in Nebraska? We had a patient care biocontainment unit, the only one of 2 units in all of the United States. And it was the largest unit in the world. It's a 10-bed unit at our academic hospital. But they came to me and said, you know what, I want your lab, since you know how to work in high-level containment, we want your laboratory to be the laboratory to test samples, clinical samples for these patients. Well, here I am in the laboratory testing Ebola samples. By the way, an Ebola sample that we handle has more virus in it than could infect every living person on this planet. Just to let you know that. It's very highly infectious, and we're talking billions of viral particles in one sample. I could tell you a lot of stories about that because we really had an interesting time, but the point is that we were doing this on the string. Nobody else knew how to do it. It had never been done in the U.S. Clinical labs running Ebola samples. We wrote the manuals on how to do it. We worked with the CDC on how to do it. I've been all over the United States at different facilities telling them, how did we do it? This is what you got to do. You know, if you think about little old Nebraska, here I am at Mass General, Johns Hopkins, all of these laboratories and hospitals telling them how to run their laboratories. It's pretty intimidating, to be honest with you. But we did it. Nobody got infected, thank God. But guess what happened in 2020? Do I need to tell you anymore? SARS-CoV-2 came into the picture. Nebraska, Omaha, has the national quarantine unit, the only one in the United States. It's a 20-bed quarantine unit supported by federal dollars. My laboratory supports the people that are in that unit, as well as our patient care biocontainment unit. Well, this federal quarantine unit, the State Department contacted me and says, we're going to be bringing a cruise ship of people to Omaha that are high risk exposed to SARS-CoV-2. It was called the novel coronavirus back then. They didn't even have a name for it. And we want you to help take care of these and make the diagnosis that they have this disease. And I said, well, I don't have a test. Well, how are you going to test somebody if you don't know how to do it? The only place in the U.S. that had a test was the CDC. That was it. So I talked to the people at the Special Pathogens Lab at CDC and said, I need you to tell me how to run this test. I need to transition this into my lab in Omaha, which we did. And at the time, we ended up having 12 of the 15 people that came to us infected with the virus, which was the highest known incidence of SARS-CoV-2 in the United States at that time. So we learned a lot from that. We became one of only 3 labs in the nation that could test for COVID for a number of weeks after that. So it was kind of an interesting thing. We also had issues of, you guys all know about how the volumes went up for testing, how high the volumes went. I have a very small staff. We have to run the ship. You know, we have to run the lab. But we went from 200 to 2,000 tests a day on these samples with patients. Fortunately, today it's much less. But this is the world I lived in. And I just want to give you one more story. I know my brother-in-law said he would time me and say, after 5 minutes, we're cut off. But we did a lot of interesting things. Most of you recognize the fact that Omaha is the birthplace and the place where the College World Series is held. And my lab, the NCAA came to my lab and said, we want you to test the baseball players for the College World Series. Okay, we knew what their protocols were, kind of. Well, it really got really tense because North Carolina State University was a front runner and one of only 4 teams left in the College World Series. And a couple of the players started sniffling. Well, late at night, they went and got nose swabs on these players. And I'm sitting in the lab at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going, 8 of these are starting to come up on my PCR assay, and they're going to be positive. Well, guess what? They basically got kicked out of the tournament because of that. And that was a very tough decision, but all I was doing was running a test. But that's the things that I was involved with. And, you know, I could go on and tell you lots of more stories, but the point is I'm really thankful, first off, to the foundation that they offered me this award, because, again, it's not me, it's a lot of people together. But second off, I really am thankful for God that's given me these opportunities. He's really given me a lot of opportunities to be able to be standing here tonight. Science and public health are 2 passions of mine, and it really has led to a fulfilling career. And I'm still working, by the way. I'm still doing what I did. And receiving this award does show that my efforts have had a positive impact. And I'm very thankful for that. But I am grateful, again, that this award really is a recognition of a lot of other people that have done things that have put me in this position. So I want to acknowledge that fact that my family, my friends, my coworkers, I got some really good laboratory technologists. I want to recognize them with this award as well. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Peter. The Henry L. Bolley Academic Achievement Award honors individuals who have attained noted achievements in the area of education as teachers, researchers, and/or administrators. The 2023 Henry L. Bolley Academic Achievement Awardee is Neil Gudmestad. Neil is celebrating 62 years in agriculture. His career began at the age of 8, when his father woke him at 3 a.m. and announced it was time for him to go to work on the family's grain and dairy farm near Litchfield, North Dakota. Throughout his education and career, Neil applied the work ethic he developed while working at the farm. As a first-generation student, Neil earned degrees in biology and chemistry from Valley City State University before attending graduate school at NDSU, where he earned his PhD in plant pathology. He joined NDSU faculty in 1985 and cultivated an expansive research portfolio dedicated to the management of more than 22 potato diseases, including fungicide resistance, bacterial diseases, and invasive pathogens. His research is cited and celebrated around the globe, where Neil is recognized for his expertise in academia as well as in the industry. He has been named a University Distinguished Professor, a Fellow of the American Phytopathological Society, and a 50 for 50 honoree by Potato Grower, which recognized 50 of the potato industry's most innovative and influential individuals, companies, and organizations over the past half-century. In 2015, Neil led fundraising efforts to establish the Neil C. Gudmestad Endowed Chair of Potato Pathology, which became the first fully endowed faculty position at NDSU. Of course, he was named himself the inaugural holder until his retirement in 2020, when the title passed to his successor, Dr. Julie Pasche. Please welcome to the stage the 2023 Henry L. Bolley Academic Achievement Award recipient, Dr. Neil Gudmestad.
Thank you, John. Those of you who have heard me speak at a foundation event before will have heard what I'm going to say, and that is that every time I hear myself introduced, I can't help but think of the old adage that behind every successful man, there's a very surprised mother-in-law. True story. My mother-in-law is actually really past being very surprised, and she's shocked. And that's why she couldn't be here tonight. But speaking of shocked, John called me, I think, last October and told me that I was getting this honor. And I said, oh, really? I'm shocked. Now, those of you who know John, before I tell you his response, I want you with your head voice to channel his very flat, dry, non-expressive voice, okay? So when I said that I was shocked, he replied, Neil, trust me, no one's more shocked than I am. Another true story, John, and you know it. This is truly a great honor, and as I talk about some things here, I think you'll learn why. This award is named after Henry Luke Bolley, and I'd like to tag team with last year's awardee for this honor, Dr. Kaufman, who talked a little bit about Henry Luke Bolley. And I think that probably 90% of you don't really realize who Henry Luke Bolley was. Yes, he was one of the first 4 faculty. But what Kaufman liked to emphasize is that he also started Bison football. He started football here in 1890 at the North Dakota Ag College. But what he didn't talk about is that he also started football at Purdue University when he was an undergraduate in 1887. And he was the first quarterback for Purdue University, a university that self-identifies themselves as the cradle of quarterbacks, and he was the first quarterback. And when they won their first game, the local press from West Lafayette newspaper asked him, well, who are you guys? And he said, we are just a bunch of engineers and Boilermakers. And the moniker is stuck. They still are the Boilermakers. He was one of the first 4 faculty, and he is historic as a researcher. When he first came here, and what Dr. Kaufman referred to him as is a botanist. While it's true that he got his master's degree at Purdue in botany, he's actually a plant pathologist, Peter. More about that later, Peter. He was a plant pathologist, and he worked for one of the very first plant pathologists in the United States, J.C. Arthur, one of the historic plant pathologists. And when he came to North Dakota to be one of the first 4 faculty, the first disease he worked on was potato scab. I'm a potato pathologist, just saying. So this is really important to me that I get this honor. He also, though, when he was working on potato scab, he actually, and this is back, okay, this is only about 20 years after Louis Pasteur proved the germ theory. So think about that. 20 years after the germ theory has proven to be true, it's not spontaneous generation, there are germs responsible for all these things. He proved that bacteria were the cause of potato scab. He published the first paper in Science, still one of the top journals, science journals in the world. He published the paper, got it accepted, and Irwin F. Smith, a few years later, showed that a bacterium can cause a disease of apples and a disease of cucurbits. And unfortunately, universally, Irwin F. Smith is given credit for discovering that bacteria can cause diseases of plants, not Henry Luke Bolley, but he was by far first. He was also one of the first plant pathologists to show that there could be soil-borne diseases. You think about how controversial it was for bacteria to cause disease. I mean, anybody who was a bacteriologist in the late 19th century was ridiculed by the European scientists. And he demonstrated that there is such a thing as soil-borne pathogens, very ingeniously. He referred to it as flax sick soil and wheat sick soil. And he was the first person to actually go around the world and look for resistance to flax wilt, a soil-borne pathogen. Found it. And first variety he bred, he called bison flax. He was the first person that I can find in the literature who ever advocated that growers, farmers needed to stop monoculture and they needed to use crop rotation. It got him fired. It got him fired. He was locked out of his lab for 6 years. And if anybody wants to know, I can make a great case that the creation of tenure in the United States, or in North Dakota, and the creation eventually of the Board of Higher Education to take the ability to fire faculty at an institution away from the governor. Sorry, Doug. Sorry, Governor Dalrymple. But to take it away from the governor and actually give it to another entity. All of this because of Henry Luke Bolley. He was absolutely the greatest faculty member in the history of this institution. Of the first 4 faculty, he is the only one who doesn't have a building named after him. Stockbridge, Waldron, Ladd, all have buildings named after him. And I challenge anybody to look at the productivity and impact that a faculty member had on this institution, on this state, and on agriculture. Compared to the other 3, you add up and you look at what those 3 did compared to what Bolley did by himself, and it pales. We don't have a building named after Bolley. We've got a street named after him. That's nice. And it's a great credit that the foundation has named this kind of alumni award for basically academic productivity after Henry Luke Bolley. But I think it's time that we correct this erroneous mistake. I think we need to name the library the Bolley Library. And Joe Mocknick, who was a dean of the libraries, now at Kansas State, believed in it. We tried to push it. We were told we had to have $10 million to name that library. So John, President Cook, if that's the number, you tell me, and I will beat the road, and I will get that money. However, thank you. I want you to remember that we do have a wellness center named after a prominent and one of the best administrators, and that didn't have to take a lot of money. And the Sugihara Hall, which I was really honored to be one of the featured speakers on that dedication, that didn't involve a lot of money. I think it's way too long that we recognize Bolley for who he was. With that, now about me. You know, when I came here early for the photographs and everything, John said, "So, Neil, have you prepared anything?" And I said, "Well, you know, John, I'm an extemporaneous speaker. I don't really prepare anything." And I could see his eyeballs get big, and I saw the sweat starting to pour off his forehead. But you know what? Governor Dalrymple and Betsy like it that I speak extemporaneously. They just told me before this all started. I do have a number of people that I do want to thank. Like my ex-friend Peter, who hates plant pathology. I happen to love, It's okay, I'm just teasing you. I do have some people that I really do need to thank. It's for the people who know me in this room, they know that I'm not the brightest bulb in the socket. I have gotten to where I have gotten from hard work, and I learned that from my parents. My father always said to all of us, all the Sibs, that the key to success is simply outworking the other guy. And that's what I've tried to do. And I only have one other attribute that I think is important, and that is my ability to recognize the talent in others and their ability to be self-motivated. And I have several of them here tonight, and I would like to recognize them. Ipsita Malik came to my lab as a molecular medical microbiologist, and she is beyond talented. I told her many, many times that every day she shows up to work, she's worth her weight in gold. Her husband, Sanku, is a professor in pharmaceutical sciences and a very gifted researcher. And Sanku, it really has to be difficult to be the second best researcher in your family. It has to be. And if you're in agriculture, so thank you, Ipsita, for everything you've done. Raise your hand so they thank you. The other person I want to recognize is Dean Peterson. If you're going to be in agriculture, you have to not only do field research, you not only have to take your laboratory research to the field, you have to excel at it. You have to be absolute precise in how you perform that experimental plan. And Dean Peterson has been doing it for years, and he is excel. If I was to trade, I mean, because the NFL, you know, the draft is coming up. If I was to trade when I was there, Dean Peterson, I would have needed 6 draft choices. That's how important he is. So, Dean, thank you for everything you did for me. One of the things that I am really proud of is that when at one point, and for all of you who are the State Board Ag Research, none of you were in that meeting when I spoke at that meeting, but I was told by 3 individuals that moving forward there would only be 1 potato pathologist in our department, and there are currently 2. And so I knew because of my health issues that I was going to have to retire before my colleague was going to retire. And the thought of my research project being put aside and stopped because I was going to retire before my colleague, my ego, quite frankly, couldn't take it. And so I decided I had to try to get it endowed. And I'm really proud of the fact that I think like 46 donors from 15 states put in nearly $5 million plus the match from the challenge grant. It became $6.8 million, and it became the first fully endowed chair. So that demonstrated to me that how important this project is and the impact it has not only across the United States but globally. And so I'm really proud that the next person I want to honor and recognize for what she has done for me is Dr. Julie Pashy. Julie ran my research laboratory for 14 plus years, got her master's degree and PhD with me on the side, raised a family with her husband Steve, and she is the second hardest person I know. And she is now the current Neil C. Gudmestad Endowed Chair. One more short story about John. So after I retired and Julie succeeded me in the position, there was a foundation event, as probably was the executive board or something, and John had Julie and one of her students come in and speak to the board and talk about the importance of endowed chairs, endowed professorships. And when he introduced her, I wasn't there. I've gotten this secondhand about 3,000 times, third times, that Julie Pashy was a better representative of the Neil C. Gudmestad Endowed Chair of Potato Pathology than Neil was. And you know what, John? We finally agree on something. The last few people I want to thank is I've been really fortunate during my career at North Dakota State University to have incredible leadership in agriculture. Jack Rasmussen, who's here, who was my chair for many, many years, that when I was a faculty member. Ken Grafton and Greg Lardy, who's here, were vice presidents of agriculture and all the other many titles that they have besides that. And I just want to thank those individuals for staying the hell out of my way and letting me do my job. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And last, and this John just is really worried. He's still worried about what's going to go happen next, you know. But John, I am almost done. I do want to thank the person who I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for James Sugahara. I was told early on that I couldn't compete in graduate school at North Dakota State University because I came from a small college, Valley City State, and nobody from a small college like Valley City State had ever succeeded in getting a degree, advanced degree. And I was going to quit. At that time, James Sugahara was the dean of the graduate school. And he met with every single graduate student that came in, that matriculated. And I sat there waiting for him, and I had decided that I was done. I hadn't even taken a class. I hadn't fully matriculated. I was leaving. I was getting up to leave, and his administrative assistant said, "Dr. Sugahara will see you now." I said, "That's okay." She said, "No, Dr. Sugahara will see you now." So I went in and told him my story and that I was sorry to have wasted everybody's time, but I was leaving. He talked me off the shelf. He talked me off the cliff. He believed in me before I believed in myself. He gave me confidence and he mentored me that first year. If he hadn't done that, I wouldn't have gotten a master's degree, I wouldn't have gotten a PhD, and I sure as hell would not be here today. So thank you, Jim. And finally, I want to congratulate all the other recipients except Peter. And on your awards, well deserved. You know, I was just so amazed when I read Peter's, biography, and I went, oh my God. But then he hates plant pathology, so what can I say? But congratulations to everybody, and you too, Peter. And I want to thank all of you for being here and sharing this evening with me and the other awardees. Thank you.
Congratulations, Neil. I'm shocked, truly. I'm shocked. The Distinguished Service Award recognizes an individual who has provided outstanding volunteer service for the benefit of the university or someone who has played a vital role as a volunteer fundraiser on behalf of the NDSU Foundation. This year, there are multiple award recipients in this category. Our first recipients of the 2023 Distinguished Service Award are David and Aileen Clough. Together, David and Aileen have helped advance agriculture, education, and fellowship at NDSU. They contributed major gifts to numerous capital projects in athletics and agriculture, supported renovations and technology, upgrades in the College of Human Sciences and Education, and established a scholarship endowment for the benefit of students in their NDSU passion areas. David and Aileen reconnected with NDSU when David was elected to the North Dakota Wheat Commission in 2006. In 2015, Aileen became a member of NDSU's College of Human Sciences and Education Board of Visitors, and in 2018, she became an NDSU Foundation trustee, where she currently serves on the Outreach and State and Local Relations Committees. David and Aileen both serve as passionate ambassadors of the university in their daily lives. They enjoy the friendships they have made by reconnecting with their alma mater, hosting dinners and watch parties, celebrating their Bison pride, and bringing popcorn to the foundation staff whenever they come to Fargo. Please welcome to the stage David and Aileen Clough.
I'm used to getting redirected by somebody. Everybody else came that way.
Well, you told me it was coming up this way. We're on the same page.
It's been almost 54 years of this together. We want to thank you for the honor of this award. President Cook, NDSU President Cook, NDSU Foundation President, CEO, John Glover, Foundation staff, trustees, alums, friends, and our family. We're sincerely very humbled and honored to follow the alums that have received this award, the Distinguished Service Award from NDSU Foundation, for which we have great respect as a student-focused, land-grant university with an R1 research level. We have some very important people with us tonight, along with the two governors, and they are our family, our daughter Angie Matthews and her daughter Kira of Syracuse, New York. Our son Nathan and his wife Liza and their daughters Izzy and Piper Clough of Grand Forks. And Dave's cousin, Phil Brager, and his wife, Pat, of Watertown, South Dakota. My dad graduated from NDAC way back in 1933, and he always encouraged me, go further, never finish learning in your life. Just go on and do what you can. And that's what David and I have done for the many years that we've been together. We've started small in some cases, and it's just developed into a real gift to give to others, because you're actually giving back to more than yourself. You're giving back to the country and to your state.
I thought I was going to first come out wearing a hat that I wore back in the 60s when I was here, when the first championship in 1965. But oh, okay, they have it here. But I donated it to the archives, or that to NDSU, and they had it in the Foundation Alumni Center for a while, and then it's in the archives. But they wouldn't let it out of the archives. Hey, it's too old, so I guess you know what that means for me, or that. But anyway, there's some buttons and everything on there they said they've never seen before, or that. So that's what started out the championships back in '65, or that. And we also have a large sign in our into our farmyard. We're former farmers. We're retired now, but we have a 4x8 sign that says, "Welcome to Clough Farm Bison Country." And when I was back in 2015, I was on a 3-week trip to Asia. We visited 7 countries for the U.S. Wheat Associates Crop Quality Tour. And we had I was part of the speaking system, and I had that slide up there. And I said that, bison country. Well, after we were done speaking, I went and talked to the translator. And she said she had no clue what a bison was. She did not know. So she translated it as to, "Welcome to big cow country." So you've got to be careful with translators. That. There it is now, the picture of that, because actually back then we didn't have that 1,000-pound cement bison or that, so maybe they would have known. We just got that a couple years ago. So, but anyway, we've had many watch parties that we did at our home or that, and for playoff games and everything, and some of them have been highlights for neighbors and friends and others to cheer on the bison, and they kept people saying, "Why don't you go to Frisco?" Well, everybody said, "No, you can't go to Frisco. We got to have a place to have a party," or that, because we had usually 30 to 40 people. One time we had over 75 people in our home, and we had a Japanese friend, or that, he was with NCI, and he was out visiting us, and he was there for that game with 75 cheering bison fans, and he leaned over to my cousin who was here, and he said, "Do they always party like this?" So that's just for the bison. That, so, and now giving to NDSU has always been a priority for many people, including Aileen and I, and that's where we received a great education, made lifelong friends, and is where we met, or that. Actually, it was I was a teak, she was a KD, and we went over, we were having a fraternity sorority exchange, and I went over and picked up a load of girls, and she happened to sit in the front seat, and then on it was history, I guess, or whatever. except for one thing, that was the one time actually I did cheat in college, because we went over to the teak house and we lined up, and they numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, she was in group 4, so I got in line and that, and I'd be in group 4. Well, somebody stepped in front of me and that, so I was in group 1. Nobody's going to know what group I'm in, so I went with her group, so I cheated in college then. So, and that's 54 years ago now. It's come May, it'll be 54 years that we were married. You have more to say here? We're going to be the short ones here.
I was thinking John is going to have a giant hook if we go over 5 minutes. He's going to have a giant hook that'll come up and take us off the stage.
But one thing you can remember us by, or whatever, is that when you hear the song "Thunderstruck" at playoff football games, when the team comes out, you can always think of Aileen and I, because the name of the rock band that does "Thunderstruck" is our initials, AC and DC.
Thunderstruck! Thunderstruck!
Well done, AC/DC, for sure. Our second 2023 Distinguished Service Award is being presented to Spencer Duin. That's it, folks. Good night, everybody. You all have a great night. So for those of you that are not in the know, there's a little bit of an inside story behind that. You're soon about to find out, for sure. For more than 20 years, Spencer has shared his time, talents, and treasures for the betterment of NDSU. During the In Our Hands campaign, he and his wife, Carol, were one of the first to endow a professor. The Spencer and Carol Duin Endowed Fellowship is awarded to talented faculty in the College of Engineering. By the end of the campaign, benefactors established 22 new named faculty positions at NDSU. As an NDSU Foundation trustee, Spencer's passion has been serving on the investment committee, which he chaired from 2013 to 2022. As chair, he spearheaded a project that captured the history of the NDSU Foundation's endowment, which grew from about $40 million in 2002 to more than $423 million as of December 31, 2022. I might add that it is now larger than that school to the north's endowment, thanks to Spencer's leadership. Spencer also serves as a member of the College of Engineering Advisory and Advancement Board. For Spencer, philanthropy and volunteer work are rooted in principles he learned in the Western Minnesota farming community where he grew up, and in his worldviews gained through his engineering management career. He received an honorary doctorate from NDSU in 2018. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Spencer Duin as our 2023 Distinguished Service Awardee.
The year was 1945. The Japanese had surrendered on August 15th. 2 weeks later, there was another major event. My mother got up in the morning and prepared breakfast for my sister, my brother, and I. It was more and more complex because we didn't have electricity or running water in the house, but we adapted. And then she drove us those 2 miles on those little gravel roads over to the little Lutheran schoolhouse, an 8th grade schoolhouse, elementary school, in one room. And the big thing about this date was my first day of education. My first day in the first grade. We didn't have kindergarten. We weren't that sophisticated. But it was my first day in the first grade, and so my mom left, and she left with these instructions, and they were standard instructions forever. They were, if nobody's here to pick you up, start walking. No, this was standard up until the 6th grade when they allowed me to drive the family car to school. That's a true story. But anyway, so I was there, and then, of course, I knew all the kids because they were in the church and so forth. And there were about 30 of them, as I recall. And then a carpool came in full of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I was standing in the hall, and they came into this room, and pretty soon I was in the corner. And I started crying. You know, it's a long way from that corner crying in that first grade room to standing here today. So let me tell you a little bit about that story. You know, I didn't know anything about North Dakota State. There wasn't a big tradition about going to college in our family. My dad went to the 8th grade and then farmed, and I know many of you have similar stories. My mother went to high school, and then she did 1 year of teacher's training, and then she taught in one of those little white prairie schools that we all know about or have seen remnants of. And so here I was in the senior year in high school. It was about this time of year. There were 32 in our class. There were no counselors or anything. But my basketball coach, a graduate of North Dakota State University, came to see me, and he says, "Spencer, what are you going to do next year?" I said, "Well, I've been thinking about going to college and study engineering." Now, there were two things I knew nothing about: college and engineering. But I had two cousins. They lived in Wahpeton, so we weren't real close. And I heard they were studying engineering, so I thought, well, that's what we do. There are 5 engineers in Duin family who have graduated from North Dakota State. Two cousins and 2 brothers and I. Anyway, so he says, okay, he says, he gave me an application. Here's an application to North Dakota State University. You fill this out and bring it back to me tomorrow. You know, you would procrastinate, but you don't do that for your basketball coach. So I got acceptance. So September, I'm heading for college. Get in the car, I'm all ready to go, you know, and just will give you some examples how prepared I was. And I started down the highway to Fargo. I had my own car like most farm kids did, and still probably do. And all of a sudden, standing beside the road was my mother in the family car. She had used a shortcut to get ahead of me. And so, of course, I stopped. Well, I had forgotten my suitcase. So I was really ready for college. So I come to college. I started in civil engineering, and then I wasn't so sure about that. I went to math, and then I found industrial engineering. And, you know, in retrospect, that looked to me like something where I could, the quickest way into the executive suite. And what I really wanted to do in life was run things. And I know John has experienced that several times. And I know he cherishes these lessons that I've left him. So I was trying to cram 4 years into 5. And I got a draft notice. So I ended up in the military. I did go to Turkey for 18 months and analyzed enemy military communications for the National Security Agency. Then I came back, had a few months left, so I went to Tacoma, Washington, to Fort Lewis. You know, and here I was a young soldier. So what did the young soldier do? The first thing is, the question is, where is the nursing school? So we found that out, and Carol and I met, and we dated. This was like and I had to go to the Mojave Desert for 2 months on maneuvers, but I came back, and then she graduated in August as an RN. And she was from Central Washington, but she really wanted her whole life to go to California, so she did. I got an early out, go back to at Christmas time, we were writing letters. We didn't have all this stuff we have today. So, but every week, or maybe 2 or 3 times a week, we wrote letters. She kept all mine. I, of course, didn't. But anyway, but at Christmas time, I got a ride out to California. She was living in Long Beach, right on the beach. The sand was there in the Pacific Ocean. And make a long story short, on the December 23rd, 1964, we got engaged. We really both believed in a long engagement, so we didn't get married until that was on the 23rd. On the 28th, we got married. That was 58 years ago, so. Anyway, but I really like to always say I rescued her from that situation and brought her to Fargo on January 3rd. Well, we graduated, and when we graduated, we put everything we had in that VW Beetle, ironing board between the seats, everything we had. And, I always like to say we were rich. Carol was an RN. Iowa had an engineering degree from NDSU, and we headed back to California. And then we had a lot of success I did in my business career. And a lot of it had to do with what I learned on the farm, around the dinner table, and working with my parents about responsibility and integrity. And then, we lived in 5 states, lived and worked in 5 states, and 5 years in Belgium. We were in a French-speaking community. And all of that was really quite successful. And along the way, we had 3 children, Derek, Darcy, and Jason, and they're here. And then we had a very important event. You ever heard of Idi Amin in Uganda? Well, he was threatening to one of the families, so through some missionaries, they sent a young man in the 9th grade to school in Asheville, North Carolina, where my kids went. Long story short, he became part of our family. So here, and he couldn't come tonight, but his wife, Nakai, is sitting right here. And I remember we mentioned we had foster children. It was kind of interesting because we had from our first foster child, we had about a 40-year gap because we had moved out of the area and so forth, and he called us one night. So we've got reconnected with our first foster child. Incidentally, he does have a doctorate in mechanical engineering. So you get close to this family, you go to college. That's just the way it works. And then my brother is here, and his wife. They are both NDSU graduates, and they're sitting right over here. But in my business career, and I ran operations and stuff for Westinghouse and so forth. And then, but toward the end, the new dean of the College of Engineering here at North Dakota State was going to a new dean school at Carnegie Mellon, and and I had been giving a few shekels, so they had my name, they gave it to him, he calls me up, we have dinner, and I said, well, Dr. Helwig, would you like to see my engineering department? It was actually quite extraordinary. We had 120. Research and development, and it was really run well in a team environment, the latest, and we were benchmarked by a lot of people. Good leadership under an Irish physicist. So that was my connection. So then he says, "Would you like to be on the industry advisory board for the College of Engineering?" And I said, "Sure," and I still am actually. So. Then I took early retirement in early 2000, and they asked me, again, I had been giving a few shekels, and it makes a difference. The more shekels seems like the more difference it makes. But if you want to try, just keep doing it, So am I doing the right thing, John? Okay. And so then I was asked to be on the foundation board, and then I was on the investment committee, advisory board for the investment committee endowment, and so Mary Lou was the person I learned most from, and then I was chair for the last 10 years. So that was my connection to the foundation and to the endowment. And then in 2018, there were two events that were important. One event was Carol and I decided to endow a professor at the College of Engineering, and we did. Omiarov, who was the professor who got that award, that endowment, he has moved on to other things. So yesterday, that endowment was assigned to the new professor of industrial engineering, Dr. Lopez. And Diana Lopez and her husband are right here. And also in December of that year, I was awarded the honorary doctorate to this institution. So that was an immense honor to me, and so forth. And I remember a little story with my family. It was Christmas time, and my son Jason had found had asked my wife about my diploma, and he had it framed, and he gave it to me for Christmas. And so my daughter, Darcy, Georgia Tech, and my son, Derek, from NC State, they said, "Dad, that diploma is pretty small. We have much bigger diplomas. Does that say anything about your university?" Well, I said, I don't know, but maybe there's an inverse relationship, because I've had many people with big diplomas work for me over the years. You have to be ahead of your game in this family. But then Jason said something that many of you can identify with tonight. Jason said, "Well, I don't know about the size of the diploma, but I know what that diploma means to our family." And in closing, I'd like to say one more thing. Remember we started in the first grade. And every time I come up to Fargo, all of the alumni from that first grade, we all get together, and they're all here tonight. Armin and I, when we get together, the two of us have a good time.
Well done. Well done, well done. We're finally done, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving one more round of applause for this inspirational group of awardees for 2023. Also join me in thanking our presenting sponsor. It concludes our program. Please enjoy fellowship and an opportunity to say hello and congratulations to our awardees. Thank you very much. Go Bison.